I'd like to welcome everyone to the Public Works and Planning Committee. At this time, would have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Cush.
Present.
Commissioner Piercy. Here. Commissioner P.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd. Here. Chairman Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we'll call on Vice Chair Phil Dodd for the minutes of July.
Thank you, Chairman. I have read the minutes, find them in order, and make a motion for their approval.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of July. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We have no public comments. Okay, next we have the Solid Waste and Convenience Centers, Director Wagener, but before that, we'll have Mayor Joe Carr to come up and speak on the operations of the transfer station for the first month. Welcome.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you, Bishop, for joining me. So I'm here to give a report for the July 2025 operational results of the transfer station. And Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to tell a little story before I get started. In 1990, my brother and I found ourselves both unemployed. It was during the Bush recession. It wasn't a bad recession, but a recession nonetheless that several folks found themselves without jobs. My brother and I were one of those individuals, and so we had the bright idea that if we couldn't get anybody to hire us, we would hire ourselves. So on August 29th, 1990, Patrick Carr and myself started a company on $5,000 loan called Precision Concepts. It was a mechanical engineering design team where we provided design engineering services for a number of different large corporations. Some of them you've heard, some of you may not heard, but like General Motors, Boeing Aerospace, and this kind of thing. But we started this company in August 29th, 1990 on $5,000. And it was on a vision and a belief and an understanding that we could provide a service and a product to an industry that was in need, what we thought, of our services. By 1993, it had grown to be a multi-million-dollar corporation in several states. In 1995, I bought my brother out, and in 1998, I sold it to a company in Dallas, Texas. I share that story because what I'm talking about all of us, embarked on when we had the vision of what we could do and do better with regard to our solid waste stream here in Rutherford County and the solid waste stream that was coming into the county, and probably most importantly, the leverage we needed to recycle and to do a better job recycling. And that plan is the Rutherford County Transfer Station. And so I'm here today to present to you the results of the last 30 days. Next slide, please. As you will recall, my initial estimate was about 100,000 tons a year. But because of some conversations, we ratcheted that back to manage expectations, bet more conservatively, to 50,000 tons a year. That was our goal. As of July 31st, we have done 7,965 tons. Now, I paused here because that 7,965 tons equates to 15,930,020 pounds that has passed through the transfer station. The bulk of that, with the exception of 150 tons, was done in the last 3 weeks of the month. The first week, Chairman Phillips, you asked for a soft start of 6 months. We had a soft start of 3 days. But I want to compliment Bishop Wagener and Matt and the entire solid waste team and the OIT department. The training for a month in preparing for this opening and the rigorous live sessions we went through to prepare proved to be time well spent. So what we've done is 7,965 tons in the month of July. That averages about 400 tons a day. As a matter of fact, today we did 426 tons. As a benchmark, yesterday we did 388 tons. So what we're finding is that we're doing 400 tons and we're gradually increasing on a daily basis. Average number of trucks is over 125. Today we did 138 trucks, I believe. Now, the truck number is the number of trucks that are actually visiting the transfer station, not trucks that are departing and taking it to the waste to Cedar Ridge, but these are the number of different customer trucks we are receiving. We currently have about 15 customers that are on account, and we have, of course, we have a number of cash customers. Our total revenue for the month of January, gross receipts, was $653,797.54. Yes, sir. $653,797.54.
That's for July?
That is for July.
Okay.
Only July. The cost to operate the transfer station, the gross cost was $587,181.27 for a profit back to the solid waste department of $66,616.27. From my standpoint, gentlemen, by any measure, that is a great success. Now, true, it is only the first month, but the first month, we would all have to admit it exceeds everybody's expectations. And I think it's because we had a really good idea. We had a really good plan to implement, and we had a lot of cooperation from a lot of people to make this happen. This is no one individual's success. This is the success of a lot of people working really hard for a very long time. And that's why we're here tonight. And I can't brag enough on this man and his team for operationally putting it together. And I want to just stop for a second, and I want to read to you some emails, unsolicited emails that Carla Hill in my office received this week. This is after she sent out we've already sent out invoices. We sent out invoices, I believe it was yesterday. So we've already sent out invoices. You guys helped me make July the best month ever for us. Is there an address I'm supposed to mail my check, or can I pay online? William Shackelford, Trash Pandy, LLC. Carla, we went over our credit line. We definitely directed all of our trucks to you guys instead of other places. I will have a check dropped in the mail tomorrow to pay the invoice. Good morning, Carla. I was wondering how to expect the billing for our account. We got people wanting to pay us, gentlemen. That is unbelievable. They're trying to pay us. I was wondering how and when we could expect the billing for our account. Will it be mailed, emailed? Will it be automatically drafted using the checking information we provided? Have yet to receive anything regarding July. This is August 4th. Haven't received anything regarding July. I know it's just the first billing cycle, and we are probably all still learning the procedure. I just don't want to miss anything. For what it's worth, we have looked forward to our trips to the transfer station this month. Part of our job that we dreaded has become something we enjoy now. Now that the first month is over, this is from Marvin Nutter, Marvin's Hauling. Now that the first month is over, I was wondering when and how to expect the invoicing to work so we can get our amount due paid on time so we can remain in good standing. Carla, talking about invoicing again, sounds great. We've had great feedback from all of our drivers that have come through. You are all doing a superb job. That's Bishop's team. I just wanted to touch base with you about the exceeding the credit limit. This is a customer that exceeded the credit limit. I didn't want to have drivers stopped and told they couldn't dump. It happened at other facilities, growing pains, I guess you could call it. Payments online would be a great option in the future. I will have this month's payment invoice mailed tomorrow. That's just a sample. So what I want to say to this committee in particular, this endeavor has been difficult and challenging at times, especially for me personally, but I can tell you the rewards of success wipe the slate clean. This is phenomenal, gentlemen, what we've done. Now, again, this is only the first month, and we need to be cautious about getting too excited, which is going to be difficult for me. But I'm telling you, what we're doing is something unique, because whenever we work together and we can do things that keep taxes low and provide opportunities for Rutherford County businesses to thrive, how much better does it get for local government than that? And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to take questions, because I know Bishop's got some things he wants to say too.
Commissioner P. What,
Well, I was told my body was blocking. Is it working now?
yeah.
Mayor, what did you say the cost of operation was?
So, yes, sir.
Month?
Yes, sir. Now, I want to be clear. The cost of operation is the disposal fee for Rutherford County, the transportation, and the loading. That's what I'm referring to, okay, the cost. And that cost was $587,181.27. And what we'll do next month when we come, we'll put those up on the screen.
Well, the reason I asked.
Yes, sir.
That does not count the cost of what the building cost is, what our interests are, debt payments.
No, and the reason
But, I mean, this is a good success story. I'm not trying to take it.
No, I'm not taking that negatively.
Figures, I want all the figures.
No, that's correct. And so we did not include the debt service, which I think is what you're talking about on the construction of the building. And I will say this, very recently, I heard someone refer to the cost of the transfer station as a $25 million gamble. Number one, it's not a gamble. Gamble is a game of chance. We took a calculated, measured risk, which is what every business does and what government does from time to time. So this was not a gamble. Moreover, it wasn't $25 million. We actually came in at $17 million. And the reason we can have this debate, and I'm really glad to have it, about whether we include debt service or not, and the reason I didn't include it, Chairman, is because we don't include the debt service cost in any other public service we provide, especially something that we're required to do statutorily. And that's why I didn't include it. However, if we want to factor that in, I do have that number if you want it.
Well, if we're going to put numbers out there, I want the exact cost of it. I'm a numbers man.
I got you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Piercy.
I don't really have a question, but I do have something I might add to your success story.
If I may correct, it's our success story, Commissioner. It really is.
You're right. It lies in my district, and I'm very appreciative of this being built and being operated, and want to thank everybody on this committee that has helped support it. I know there was questions up front. There's still going to be plenty of questions in the future on how it operates. The $66,000 over operational costs, not over the expense of the building being built, is great. The greater part in my eyes is that's nearly 8,000 ton being diverted from the top of that landfill in Walter Hill. Put a price on that. You can't. To divert that from getting that much larger in a month, there's no way you could put a value on what that's worth to the Walter Hill people. Thank you.
And to that point, that if you prorate this out, we're talking over 100,000 tons that is going to move through the transfer station. in the next 12 months. And that is a heck of a start to get us to where we want to be about how we self-determine, we as a body are going to self-determine what we're going to do with our solid waste that is inside Rutherford County, and then do we have the will to say no to solid waste coming from outside our county? And this commission, by an overwhelming vote, has said yes to both. And now we have this plan that we're going to continue to execute, refine. We're not doing it perfectly. Nobody's standing up and saying we got it perfect, but we've got a good start and we got a solid foundation, and we've got something that we will not have to tax the property taxpayers of Rutherford County for providing this service. And that was always a critical component in the justification for this.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Chairman Phillips.
Not on the microphones, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that this is something that it's so extraordinarily. A couple of years ago, it seemed impossible for something like this to happen, but I just want to say congratulations. We've received a lot of input, and I would suggest, like any business, that we contact our customers somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 months or so, and with a survey, asking for their input.
Commissioner Phillips, if I could add, if the OIT has told me that if you'll not hold it at the end, if you'll hold it up closer. There you go.
Didn't think that I was.
That's what it was.
Maybe I am. Anyway, some type of an opinion survey as to how they value our service, and with recommendations for improvement, that type of thing. So I would suggest that we follow up with that sometime in the future, just to stay on the good graces of our customers. So those are things that it's just so exciting to get that feedback that's positive. We want to make sure that the feedback in the future continues to be positive. So if we can stay in touch with those customers and even build that customer base is just valuable, I think. And you may have already had that plan, and I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Bishop, but it's just something that being in business and you being in business is extremely important to get that, continue to get that feedback, even if it's some type of corrective criticism that we can work on. So
if I can address that, that's really a good point. That is something, you're right, that is something we planned on doing. As a matter of fact, Bishop's got two fantastic, sharp ladies running the scale. If you haven't been out there and watched it, watching them operate is really something. But here's what they do, and Bishop didn't ask them to do this. I don't think he did. If you did, I'm unaware of it. But I watch them and they go, tell me about your experience. While they're doing the transaction, tell me about your experience. And so we've already received several very constructive feedback, things to make it operationally better. So I think a formal survey would be very appropriate in about 6 months. But I just want you to know that Bishop's staff has already been very proactive, saying, tell me about the experience, what is it we can improve on, what can we do better? Because, you know, we're there to serve these guys and serve the county, and so that's a point well taken. Before I walk away, Bishop, don't forget to tell them about our visit to Cedar Ridge. Yes, sir. There's a serious contrast that you need to make, and also please inform the committee that we will be sending out an RFP on beyond our pilot project for recycling. So we're moving beyond the pilot project, and that is part of the next phase of what the transfer station provides us and how we're going to use the transfer station to leverage recycling in the county. With that, gentlemen, thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Mayor Carr. Excuse me.
sorry.
I've been asked, I'm going to ask, During all of our discussions, we've said that we will not receive trash from out of county. Do we have it in our system, a way of kind of keeping a hold on that?
No, we do not.
Letting us know where it is coming from?
Not currently, and if that is a policy that, I know that some members of this committee have suggested, other members of the committee and the commission didn't quite understand and grasp the logic of that. If that is a policy decision this body wants to make, then we will certainly have that discussion and figure out how we can transactionally enforce an out-of-county tag, an out-of-county truck. I will say this, all trash that's in the transfer station leaves the transfer station at the end of the day. There is no trash on the floor at the end of the day, none. So there's no trash overnight. If there's any overnight trash, it's already in the tube trailers, wait for transport first thing in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's not inside our building.
Just want to clarify, not just that the floor is clean, but whether it's outside of the county trash that comes and gets dumped on the transfer station or not, none of it is staying in Rutherford County, correct?
That's absolutely correct. But as of today, I know of no hauling company that is coming to our transfer station. I'm not saying that there's not, I just don't know. Of the accounts that we have, they're all Rutherford County businesses.
And there may be a way to keep up with those numbers, but it seems like it's almost impossible to narrow it down because we don't know if a contractor is going outside the county and bringing trash in. So, I mean, it'd be almost impossible to narrow it all the way down.
It may be. I just think that is a conversation that if this committee wants to have, if the chairman would put that on the agenda and just have that conversation about how we're going, what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then if that is a problem that we want to solve, then how do we enforce it? That's something that I think this committee could have a conversation about, and of course, we will move forward.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Director?
Hello, Commissioners, Chairman. I'm Bishop Wagener. I am your Solid Waste Director. If I may, I would like to invite up two members of staff who are with me. Matt and Jackie, would you come up front, please? Matt, you've all met before. Everybody knows Matt. Some of you have talked to Jacqueline, but have yet to put a face to Jackie, and I wanted to introduce her to everyone here. Jackie is responsible. She's just been promoted to our fleet manager. So Jackie has a big responsibility within the department. With all of this talk of transfer station and moving, we still have one thing to remember. We also operate 14 county convenience centers and manage around 42,000 tons of waste that's generated by our citizens. And Jackie is wholly responsible for ensuring that the fleet stays active, that we're able to meet our collection margins, and that the centers stay open. And she has done an exemplary job at this, and frankly has been doing this in an ad hoc role for probably the better part of 2 years, out of necessity. And finally, we were able to, after this budget was approved, in order to get her the promotion that she deserves. So I wanted to introduce her to you all and to thank you very much for the service you provide the citizens of Rutherford County. We really could not do it without you, Jackie. I also want to thank Matt for this last month has been 14-hour days. It's been us working to try to figure out solutions to problems we didn't even know existed yet, to make a new endeavor successful. And Matt and every member of the team, the scale house team, the mechanical maintenance team, every administrative individual that we have there, and everybody else that gets within 15 feet of me at any given time during this last month has been tasked with working toward making this project a success, and making sure that we were able to provide customer-focused service to every individual that comes up. You know, when we discussed this originally, this plan, it was primarily geared toward the commercial, small, and medium-sized haulers. One of the things that has happened because of this accessibility of this station is that we've allowed for Commissioner Dodds to come in his personal pickup truck and bring maybe something that would be unacceptable or too large to take at the county convenience center into the center for a minimum fee of $50 per 999 pounds. And we found that we have really received a lot of participation from the citizenry in that aspect. In fact, we've set up basically some boxes that are off to the side that are away from the flow of traffic at the actual station, so they're able to go up to these boxes and dispose of them. We've got the doors open. They bring them in, kind of like similar to a convenience center, but for those materials that we don't accept there. And I had a fellow this afternoon. We've seen him probably 5 times come in. He's been tearing down a fence in his backyard and building a retaining wall. And he had probably 7 or 8 2x8s in there today. And when we see somebody with a small load that comes in there, we will tell them before we hit the button to ring them in, it's a $50 minimum charge. If you want to go home and get more stuff and get your money's worth on throwing this stuff away. He said, you know what? I'm just glad that you guys are doing this. It's worth the $50 not to have to go next door and wait through the line with the big trucks and do the things that we got to do. So I think in a nutshell, that's really what the spirit of this was all about, was to try to provide this option for us when, as options, may be running out. Mayor Carr mentioned that last week we were invited by the WM folks to go out to the facility that's burying, where all our material is going out at Cedar Ridge in Lewisburg, Tennessee. And it had been a while since I'd been out to Cedar Ridge. I was working for TDEC at the time when I was there, and I had memories of what it was like, but at that time I was going to a lot of landfills, so the specifics were hard to remember. I remember it was a well-run landfill, but I'm going to tell you that there were a couple really interesting things that happened there. There were several people that were invited, a couple of other counties, some representatives from the state delegation were there as well for unconnected, but we were all going on the same tour. And we witnessed the development of a brand new cell, which is something that in the landfill business you don't get to see very often unless you're operating the landfill that's building the cell. And it was a very interesting and very nice. I know when I'm talking to people that aren't in the garbage business, I say nice about garbage. But it was a very well run and very nice, well-engineered cell development that was done by them. But we were standing downwind from their working face, which was probably about 3/4 of an acre to an acre wide, which is tactical. And I am not telling you 1 second of a lie. I could not smell that landfill. I could not smell it. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me and that I'm garbage man nose blind. So I asked some of the other people that were around, hey, do you smell that? No. Then it was, are we, maybe, did they stage that? Did they maybe pour some posi shell on it? Well, the trucks, the tube trailers that were loaded in Rutherford County while we were up there, one of them dumped. And I know what that waste smells like because I've been at the transfer station while it was getting loaded. And it dumped, and we were downwind from it and didn't smell it. A well-run landfill should not smell. A well-run landfill should be covered daily. A well-run landfill should not have a multiple acre size open working face. It just shouldn't. That's what this was about. We've been living under the belief that the only way a landfill could be run is what we're dealing with here, and that burying trash can only be done in a way that it's been done next door to our current facility. And had this been a different story and we got there and we found that there were things that I didn't find were appropriate in the way that we would be buried, this conversation would be very different. There would be discussions with WM. I'm an environmental scientist first, if you remember. A geologist, the master's in environmental geosystems, a solid waste professional. And I'm telling you that landfill is run well. and our waste that is coming through our transfer station that is generated here in Rutherford County is being managed appropriately. And I would be proud to say that in front of the citizens of Lewisburg, as well as the citizens here in Rutherford County, because I know that a lot of people worry about where the waste goes. The reality of managing waste is that there's always going to be a component, no matter how much you divert, where something is going to have to be buried. It is the responsibility of solid waste professionals to manage that waste and bury it appropriately, to monitor it, make sure the leachate is controlled, that the odor is controlled, and that it is covered regularly. Those are the things we demand as members of Rutherford County that are adjacent to a landfill that is in Rutherford County. I will tell you, I drive by that landfill every day on the way to work, and they are missing the mark. Still missing the mark. What we've done is given us an option to control the waste stream and to increase the ability to divert materials from landfills, but also to give us the opportunity and the options for us to control what we generate. Remember that. That's what this is about. We're not controlled by any company. We could go to RFP tomorrow and select another company for landfill if the WM facility wasn't working, and that's perfectly within our rights to do. And that's what we've set up here. Freedom to be able to do that forever, for as long as that station is up. And that's the thing I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that you all saw how serious this was years before I arrived here, and that when we got here and I pressed that issue home to some people ad nauseum, you answered the call and you allowed us to make the steps forward to do this for the public. We're not done. Diversion is next. Increasing that diversion, utilizing our station as a hub point for us to be able to collect, aggregate, single stream material and get it out to its end market. We're going to put an RFP together to move past the pilot program and into the serious contractual program with the best bidder that will be able to manage our materials so we can increase our diversion rates and take the waste that is currently going through that station and reduce it even further, turn it in from waste into a recoverable material. That's our commitment, the Solid Waste Department's commitment to the citizens of Rutherford County, and the revenues that are generated from this, the savings that happen, or the avoidance of costs that happens to the taxpayers were also paramount in my mind when I sat down to take this job and I looked at one variable. We generate the majority of the revenue off of Citus dollars. Citus dollars are county-derived sales tax. The cities are annexing more and more of the county. We were losing revenue and gaining population. The boat was leaking, and you all put a large stopper in the hole. And I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for it. We have an opportunity here to be able to manage these materials that are generated by our public in a way that is cost-effective, environmentally safe, and, actually does businesses in our community good. One more thing, and I'll finish on this, and we can go to the regular report section, is the secondary goal here is to help these small and medium-sized haulers to grow their businesses here in Rutherford County so they're not dependent on the big haulers. And what does that mean for somebody that lives out in the county? It reduces cost. It makes it more accessible for them to be able to call a company and have them come and pick up or set a cart at their house so that their home can be serviced. There are companies that are actively looking for those neighborhoods and those high-density neighborhoods and some of the lower-density neighborhoods right now because they see the value that the station has in this community. That is what makes me happy for them, and I can see it when they come through our station that they're excited about that too. So on top of that survey, another question I would like to ask is, how has this benefited your business? Because their business benefiting in Rutherford County benefits every member of Rutherford County, every taxpayer here. They contribute. So I'm proud of that aspect, and I am encouraged. It's rare that a new endeavor operates in the black on the first month. I had actually not anticipated that we would be at these volumes until probably months 5 or 6. So let's keep our foot on the gas pedal, Matt. We want to make sure that this is available and open, and that customer focus is spread to each and every person that comes to utilize this station. Because, Rutherford County, we are not some backwater county. We're number 4 in the state, and we're run like one of the number 1 in the state. I'm prouder of this facility, more proud of this facility than any facility I've seen in the state, and there are professionals that are coming and utilizing it now that will say the same. I encourage you to come by and witness it for yourself. Watch the scale house move that material through. And one last thing, I want to reiterate the thanks to Cody York, Jamie Broussard, the OIT team, Brad Talley. Brad lived, Wilkie, Buchanan, they lived at the transfer station for about 3 weeks while we went through the training and we were making sure we got all of the technology up and running. They designed the software from the ground up and brought it to us to save at an additional savings to the county, and we have control over any updates and all of the management of that stuff too. So when you see him, give him a pat on the back, because he's got, you've heard me say that before about that team, but I couldn't be more happy to be associated with them. So if there are any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we can move on to the rest.
Mr. Piercy.
You should have known if I was going to listen to you that long, I'd had one question.
I figured.
A few years back, I believe it was one of, which would be WM's people here then. We were trying to decide what to do, what direction to go in. And the man made a comment that made more sense to me than anything I had heard any of the people say. You need to consolidate the trash into the county, and that way you know what you have to work with to recycle. Are you able to give any vision on what we've got coming in the transfer station that could be recycled yet? Do we have enough time yet?
I will say this is initially anecdotal data, but I will say that we could probably increase easily with some collection changes, and they don't necessarily have to happen from Rutherford County government. I think a lot of that's going to happen organically through the path is we give them the opportunity to be able to bring their material, their single stream material to the station, give them that outlet. Then they will go out there and seek those markets themselves, because there is a demand out there in these neighborhoods for recycling collection. There's just not been any consistent, static mechanism. I mean, you might have a company that'll stick around for a couple years and the rates will fluctuate. One of the things that we have the ability to do, being a government-run entity, is we can set those rates and keep relatively static. We may have adjustments, but they'll have to go before Public Works, so everybody's got at least a month and before they go to commission to get used to those adjustments, whereas you could be a daily fluctuation in the regular market. And that'll encourage these haulers that are currently just collecting waste, because that's been their only out to branch into that. Once they get into that curbside collection, we're going to see the potential for maybe 25% more increase organically. That's without mandates, that's without any special programs, that's just setting it up to where they can, because they can make money off of doing that too. And that's what we want, is to encourage them to do these activities and remove, frankly, some of that financial burden from the county and put it into the public market, but also provide that opportunity through our partnership with them and their businesses.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Hey, Director, you mentioned that you saw the new sale where you toured.
Yes, sir.
Do you know about what it costs for a new sale?
The last estimate that I heard, it was around 1.7 million per acre, but I may be off on that number because I'm not currently bidding on those, but it's a pretty in-depth endeavor, especially if you have to import materials to get the base set up, and sometimes there's blasting involved, and it's a highly engineered, and if you're into heavy equipment, it's pretty beautiful dance, actually.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I notice you have two more employees that are here tonight. One comes every meeting, and I really appreciate that. But I just want to acknowledge that you do have two more employees out there, and they're dedicated as all of our employees are.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I want us to give a shout out to JP and Lonnie, who do attend every Public Works meeting that they possibly can, and sometimes some commission meetings if there's something that we have that's on the agenda. They're just an example, really, of the dedication of the employees in the solid waste department. I'll tease people and say, once you become a garbage man, it's in your blood, and those men right there will tell you that it's in their blood.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Bishop, I just wanted to thank you for a lot of things over the last 3 years or so. Since we very first meeting this session or this term in Public Works, when we approved began the process of the transfer station, you have made yourself and your staff, and unfortunately more often than not, Matt over here, very accessible to me to educate me on a lot of your department, a lot of the innings and goings and all, whether it was working with the attendants at a convenience center or two, riding the trash truck, or coming and check out the scale house recently. I just wanted to show my appreciation that you had allowed that open, just and totally, in some cases, random availability to answer and go through some of the details and let me see frontline firsthand. So again, thank you for you and your department and opening it out to us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your interest, and I'm still not going to pay you for the work that you did.
Okay, guess there are no other questions. You want to go ahead with your report?
So the first thing before I turn this loose to Matt with the report is if you look into your SharePoints, I do have a budget amendment, and it is a quite substantial one. It is, last year, if you'll remember, TDEC had put us in a position of compliance order to help us to get ready for closing our Class 3 landfill. And we had set aside in the budget last year $808,000 to purchase the materials to be able to do that. Unfortunately, last year, due to weather conditions and some other variables, it was extremely challenging and impossible to find and source those materials to be able to get that done. And in the budget process this year, I neglected to notice that this wasn't included as a rollover in the new budget. I had made an assumption that because we hadn't spent down on it, that it was going to roll over automatically, and that assumption was in error. And what I'm asking for tonight is that we take that unspent $808,000 from the solid waste fund and put it into this year's budget to actuate that purchase of that soil so that we can go into post-closure on the Class 3 landfill.
Hey, we have a motion and a second to move $808,000 for soil post-closure. Is that close enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor? Well, do we have discussion?
The 808 was in the budget last year.
Yes, sir.
Not even fund dollars that were spent. So it's the same dollar shifting back in the previously entertained costs.
Correct.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Are we on the clock now with TDEC? Is there an end date that we have to meet?
I'm giving monthly reports to them as to our progress on this. We're on the clock, but they understand that we met with some challenges last year and couldn't acquire the material, so they're cooperating with the county on making sure that we can get this project
I
completed.
mean, are we potentially subject to a fine or citations of
If we don't follow through with what we've promised to do, that is a possibility. However, I'll say that
As long as we keep them informed and report to them of our progress, things will be okay.
that's correct.
Anyone else? Call a roll, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Piercy? Yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now I'm going to relinquish the rest of the time to Matt for the regular report.
Thank you. My name is Matt Davis. I am your Assistant Solid Waste Director. Rutherford County Landfill accepted 124.825 tons of brush for a revenue of $3,756 in the month of July 2025. We managed 947 tires in July for a revenue of $1,899. The total revenue from landfill scale operations was $5,655. Rutherford County Solid Waste managed 3,622.58 tons of waste from all sources in the month of July. 2,993.42 tons came from convenience centers, and 189.77 tons came from schools. We recycled and diverted 439.39 tons from all sources. That is a residential diversion rate of 12.13% for July 2025.
Okay.
Question.
Commissioner Piercy?
Of the 189 ton coming from the schools, what would be your estimate of that could be recycled from school trash, pending if someone hadn't thrown home bag garbage in it or whatever?
It's done appropriately, probably upwards to 30 to 35%.
Yeah, we do think 30 to 35% is achievable.
And that would change our diversion rate how much, you think? 35%?
They would raise it.
An additional 35%?
35% of the waste that's gathered, so it would probably bring us up to I would, just looking at the numbers rough shot without a calculator, around 17.4 to 17.6%.
Thank you.
To that point, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to that point, Commissioner Piercy, I'm meeting with Donna Barrett and Dr. Sullivan on the 11th to just have an informal conversation about that board and the grant and that new rollout of recycling, just to see how we can dialogue, just to get it started.
Matt or Bishop, when school is in full session, those numbers certainly will increase, but do organics count as part of that tonnage?
Yes, they're included as waste currently. They're not separated out from the waste stream.
I would think organics would become heavy. They're probably a big number, right,
Absolutely.
in terms of tons?
I would say with the school waste stream, they're approaching 70% of the waste stream is going to be organic material.
Is that something that we need to, in terms of your recycling, or your next step diversion recycling, is organic something that we need to be focusing on, particularly with the school and or jail system?
So I think that it is something that needs to be managed. It is a little more challenging to manage organic material than it is to manage recycling single stream as well. So it takes some infrastructure. There are some options that are out there. Ashland City has a company that works. There's a company here in Rutherford County that utilizes some organic material, although they typically use biosolids in their recipe. But I'm definitely open for a conversation that includes diverting that material because it is heavy.
Do those kind of people pay you for that, or do they want you to pay them to get it off your property?
I have not had those conversations yet. I think in some situations it depends on how much and how concentrated the effort is to get the material to them and how stable they can create their flow for their business.
So more to come.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. James?
I've kind of lost track on, can you give me an update on Haley Road?
So I did get word back, thank you for reminding me that. I got word back on Haley Road from the TVA. We had our engineers at Montrose Environmental go take a look at and into whether or not we were going to be able to alter it in the way that I originally had intended. TVA is not going to budge. They're not going to allow us to move the compactors underneath their their transmission line right away, which is quite a bit larger than I had initially anticipated it was. However, we're not out of the water, or out of the water. We're not out of the woods with that idea. There is an opportunity to reroute the traffic in a way and utilize both sides of the compactor in its current envelope, and I'm awaiting a draft proposal from Montrose to provide to the mayor's office with some recommendations on how to proceed there. And as soon as I get the word from the mayor, I want to bring it before you all to see what it looks like. But as it is now, it's kind of bittersweet. I wanted it to be something, and TVA isn't going to allow it to happen there, but we're not. All is not lost. I think we can still have a really nice facility there, and maybe we'll save some money doing it too.
Bishop, is Haley Road operational at all right now?
No, that we're not accepting any materials at Haley Road. It is, I mean, the building is operational. It's got all the utilities. It's just the compactor, if you remember, there was multiple things that were wrong. One was the water sewer. We had an issue there because of the aging of the facility. The building itself needed to be revamped. All of those things have been done. The one thing that we hadn't done is we didn't get three-phase power for the compactor usage. We'd been using some rotophase technology, and we found that for some reason the rotophase was failing repeatedly over there, and it was costing quite a bit to keep that up. So the thought then was, well, let's get three-phase onto the property, and in that thinking, it was like, if we're going to do three-phase, let's add some compactors and some capacity and change the site around. The three-phase, the compactor, getting that set up and getting the traffic routed and getting that paved and all that stuff is still a very real possibility. In fact, we're still awaiting to hear back before December on whether we've achieved that grant that we put in for well over $1 million to be able to do that. So there may be money there that's for that as well, and then and the opportunity to get that in there. And I'm kind of anxious to find out what the proposed site design will look like and utilizing the current restrictions that we have on the site.
So at this present time, we can't utilize that for at least some type of recycling?
It doesn't make logistical sense without the compactor operating out there. We can accept those materials at the county convenience centers without causing any major logistical issues or anything like that. When the compactor is going there, we're all about logistics and getting into the center of the city to get that serviced. And that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we were able to do on the site too, and keep it safe. The traffic and the volume that we had there at that time, because it was utilized so readily, was putting stressors on the businesses that were surrounding. Traffic was going out there. So those are two things that we needed to really address before we could open that up and have that full bore again.
What was on my mind is possibly utilizing that site as it is, because we've already sunk a lot of money into it. Maybe utilize it as is for electronics, oil, and things like that we can't take to the convenience centers. Because I thought that was really the original plan basically for Haley Road. Not completely, but that was a large part of it.
You know, there is possibility to do that, and we've discussed the possibility and the options to open that up for it. If we open it up for it and then we receive this grant and we're pulling the public off of that again so that we can retrofit the site for however long it takes to do that, that becomes another problem with making sure that we have consistency in our messaging to the public. Right now, I've just got where they've stopped calling us about when is Haley Road going to be back open. When we open Haley Road back up, I want it to stay open forever. I want it to be a facility for the next 50 years. And that's what I think is important that we do that for. And that's pretty much why we're rolling more toward the idea of taking some of the services that we had done historically at Haley Road and increasing that model that we have like we do out at Leanna, where we're accepting those materials at that center. I'd like to do that at the G Street Center and the Rockville Center as well, so that we can take those materials there. And then when Haley is back up, then that would be a hub for those spokes to be able to aggregate that material. And we'll keep the big trailer there keep it as an education center, and then have the normal city traffic that comes through to utilize the service.
Thank you.
Sir.
Motion to approve the report. Second.
Motion and second to approve the report. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you all. Okay, now we have planning and engineering. Doug Demosi, Director. Doug Demosi. Welcome, Doug.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Doug Demosi, Planning Director. Have our normal reports for your consideration tonight. The first is the available lot inventory. That is through July. I did not put June's on here, but I have June's number. Total available lots as of end of July this year is 952. Last month was, I believe, 1,029. You'll notice I also included on your iPads a couple of charts just to kind of give you an idea of what the available lot inventory has looked like over time. You'll see the first chart, it's a blue line. This is total available lots, just available lots themselves. Ever since we started tracking this back in January 2009, and you'll kind of see how the trend line there was up pretty high there in 10 and 11, started dipping down all the way down to about April-ish or so of 2016, somewhere in that time frame. And it's kind of been all over the map ever since, as you can see. So the last few months you see have actually been trending in the downward direction. Gives you about for today's number of 952. The second chart just kind of gives you an idea of what the availability of lots that were under the old development tax versus those that are under the new schools facilities tax look like. And you'll see that, and I knew this was going to happen at some point. When we first started collecting it back in October of 21, of course we had more development tax lots. You'll see it took about 8 months or so, about August, September or so of 2022, when the number of schools facilities tax lots actually went above the development tax. Of course, development tax lots are going to keep going down. They usually go down just a few a month. But those subdivisions that have been recorded with the schools facilities tax, that gives you that's the one that's going to be more of a kind of random, if you will, number up and down, constantly fluctuating. So I try to provide that to you quarterly. Last month would have been quarterly, but since the County Commission doesn't typically meet, we don't give a report. I just saved it for this month. So that's really just for informational purposes. So I just wanted to pass that along to you. If there's no questions about that, I will jump into our rezoning report. If I can find it. The rezoning report, we do have 3 cases for you. When you look at the memo, you'll see that there were actually 4 cases. One of the cases along Lebanon Pike was recommended for denial. That applicant did not wish to move forward with his application. So the first one we have is for property located at 3612 Woodbury Pike. This is in Mr. P's district. They are asking for a rezoning from residential medium density to commercial services. This rezoning was request was a result of a zoning enforcement action. Our zoning enforcement officials received a complaint on the property back in August of last year. Upon inspection, it was determined the property was being used for an automobile repair business. Staff met with the owner and the applicant explained to them their options. One could be removing any business activity all the way through rezoning the property. The owner did begin clearing up the property and then decided to pursue this application. There is a letter and concept plan demonstrating their development intentions included with your iPads. This is not a planned development, so it's not binding, but at least gives you an idea of the direction they would like to go. This property does have frontage along Woodbury Pike. Of course, they know, and as with typical with any commercial development, they would have to have an engineered site plan should this application be approved and before any redevelopment of this property. They would also require landscape buffering and would require performance standards to be adhered to as well. The Planning Commission had questions about the length of time the auto repair activity had been occurring. The applicant answered, I believe it was the owner as well, answered about 2 years. Stated that they made their tenants cease the activity after receiving the complaint. Further stated that they wanted the activity to be approved, so that's why he was going through the process now before reestablishing it. There were also questions about the site plan process should the application be approved. There was some observation made that the site was adjacent to property that was also used for similar purposes in the past and was also zoned for commercial services use. There was also other commercially zoned property in the area. Following that discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval. It was not a unanimous vote, but they did recommend approval by a vote of 6-4. Our second application is for property located at the intersection of Sledge Road and Miller Road. This is over in the Christiana area right near the interchange. The applicant intends to zone this property from RM to planned unit development to allow for contractor storage of equipment and materials for a mulching business and also provide a trailer storage area. There's going to be two phases to this project. Phase 1, which is along Sledge Road, would consist of a gravel storage area for mulch, equipment, and trucks. Phase 2 would be along Miller Road later on and would consist of portable office building, parking area, and storage areas for tractor trailers, boats, and RVs. I would call your attention to the conceptual layout in the pattern book. I just realized as I was waiting my turn to speak that there were two pattern books on this agenda, and I only uploaded the one for the next case, so I apologize for that. In the morning, I'll make sure that gets taken care of, so this will be there for the County Commission meeting. A neighborhood meeting was held on this property for the property on May 1st of 2025. There were a handful of people in attendance. The applicant did discuss the proposed project, answered questions from those who were in attendance. Pattern book does show proposed access points and parking areas. Phase 1 would be proposed as a gravel lot for storage, again, of mulch and equipment and trucks. Phase 2 does show a paved area for parking, as well as some other areas for boats, RVs, and tractors. Of course, with any commercial development, they would have to have an engineered site plan. Landscaping, typically you don't see planned developments that have non-residential planned developments that require any open space. However, the applicant is providing 50-foot wide vegetative screen along Sledge Road and along the western property line, which abuts the residentially zoned property. Of course, an engineered site plan would have to bear that out as well as along with our performance standards. The Planning Commission, asked about activity on the site, specifically if there were any mulching activities. The applicant answered there would not be any mulching activities, just storage of mulch. There were also concerns about the traffic, considering the location of Plainview Elementary School. Traffic should be minimal, according to the applicant, with only a few tractor trailers per week. Smaller trucks would also come and go from the property. Further questions concern the wetlands on the property and screening along Sledge Road. Again, there is to be a 50-foot screen along Sledge Road, and the wetlands would be protected. Following the discussion in the public hearing, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. The final public hearing for your consideration is one you probably are going to be familiar with. This is located at the interchange of Interstate 840 and Sulphur Springs Road. These properties were originally rezoned to planned unit development by the Board of Commissioners back in August of 2022. The approved building configuration, and this pattern book is on your iPads if you would like to take a look at that, originally was for two buildings. One was going to be about 1.1 million square feet. The other was going to be still pretty big, but not quite that big, 373,000 and change. The total square footage was not to exceed 1.5 million square feet for both buildings as approved. The zoning approval was given, like I said, back in August of 2022. Planning Commission also approved site plans for both these buildings back in November of 2022. However, construction never started on either of those buildings. Since that time of those approvals, we've had several conversations with the applicants, really the owners of the property, regarding the proposed building layout. They asked if they could have more than two buildings, but stay within the 1.5 million square feet maximum that the pattern book provided for on their original approval. After reviewing the pattern book, we determined that any amendment would have to be made as a major deviation because the plan was very specific about two buildings, not four. So we basically told them at that time that they wanted to change it from a two-building to a four-building configuration. They would have to go back through this process, which is what they have done. So you will see in the pattern book a total of four buildings ranging in size from anywhere from 276,000 square feet to a little over 550,000. The sizes and footprints may vary a little bit, but the maximum of all the buildings is still not going to be any greater than the 1.5 million square feet than what was originally approved. Everything else, such as maximum building height, floor area ratio, all those kind of things pretty much remain unchanged from the original planned unit development application. Again, I would call your attention to the pattern book on your iPads. Most of the, and I'll just jump down, I don't want to go into too much detail here since I'm over my 3 minutes. The Planning Commission did have questions, primarily one of the big ones we talked about was about proposed traffic improvements in the area. The original pattern book did outline a number of improvements that needed to be made, and the Planning Commission wanted to make sure that those improvements were still part of this application. We did answer that they were. In addition, the applicant did a updated traffic study, which actually identified some other improvements that needed to be made, specifically to the on-ramps and off-ramps, really more the off-ramps of 840 onto Sulphur Springs Road, which we think will also further help the traffic in that area. Some of the neighbors during the public hearing did come forward to speak. Some of the concerns they had regarded the location of the buildings being closer to the neighboring properties than originally proposed. Lighting, blasting, and drainage concerns were also expressed. Following the public hearing, there was additional discussion on fire protection, some geotechnical reports, how that was going to factor into any new site plan approvals, and also blasting procedures. The Planning Commission also asked the applicant to provide more screening along their southwestern boundary to help reduce lighting pollution on the adjacent property, which the applicant has provided and is included in the pattern book on your iPads. Following that discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote. So that was a lot of information. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Those are the three that we'll have for you next week.
Mr. Dodd.
Thank you, Chair. On the first one, the auto mechanic, are they still in business now? Are they currently running the business?
No, so
They paused.
they've paused and waiting the outcome of this.
On the commercial building, the industrial building, in addition to the two headlight buffers on that southwest corner.
Yes, sir.
There's appears to be a gap in the vegetation at the corner of the parking lot. Since it has moved closer to the minimum building setback line, could this committee or this commissioner ask for additional screening at one particular location?
I believe that's within your purview to do. Yes, sir.
I would like to. I'd like to do that, but I would rather do it with you and I looking at the plat, or.
You're talking about that area right there. I guess that'd be the extreme southwestern corner,
Yes.
right in that area.
Yes.
I can see what you're talking about. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And to the south of the two buffers, a gap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yes, sir.
That could be.
Right, and what I can do, even before the meeting next week, I can get with the applicant's design engineering firm and talk to them just to say that this concern was brought up and just to make sure that they know they might be able to, I don't know if they'll have a revised plan, but that's something they could certainly, yeah, absolutely.
Motion to approve the Mr. Lawson report.
We have a motion and a second to approve the report. With the additional comments. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question before you take off, if you don't mind.
Almost got away.
As I was headed home, I saw a zoning sign up on Halls Hill Pike about the 3,000 mile bar per 3,000 block
Okay.
on the right.
That, bear with me just a second, Mr. P. That might be a Board of Zoning appeal, because we don't have any rezoning out that way. It's a BZA, it is a BZA case.
So you got it, Tanya? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll wait on her.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Now we have the building codes report from Director Tanya Bell. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Tanya Bell, Director of the Building Codes Department. And that building, Commissioner Commissioner P. I was looking at you and saying his name. No, we're looking at you and saying his name. It is for an accessory before the primary, for a resident out there, or a property owner. He doesn't live on the property, but he would like to make, there's 2 buildings out there. One of them is agricultural, one of them is being used for personal storage, and he wants to apply for an exception to the zoning ordinance for an accessory prior to a primary dwelling. And that'll be up next Wednesday as BZA. All right, so I have June and July's numbers with me if you would like to go over June's, but I'm going to go over July's for right now. In the month of July, we issued a total of 519 building permits. 107 of those were primary dwellings. We completed a total of 1,763 inspections and a little better than 10,000 miles driven. Nobody has any questions? I'll move on to...
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. No? Okay. Development tax and zoning, school facilities tax. We had a total of 49 for the month of July. And incidentally, we closed out the fiscal year 24-25 with a little better than $5 million in school facilities tax. And to go back to what Doug was saying, like he said, the development tax lots are almost disappearing. When we first started this, we converted over to school facilities tax in 21. In fiscal year 22-23, we issued permits on development tax lots, 216 of those. In fiscal year 23-24, that number went down to 94. And this past fiscal year, we only issued 28 for the total year of building permits for lots where development tax still applied. So I didn't catch how many was left on Doug's report. How many was on your report? Yeah. And I would imagine we're going to see those few and far between. They might just, the most we've ever gotten in any month last year was 7. Most months was just 1. 1, 2. That's about it. iPad keeps wanting to die on me. So has anybody got any questions on the development tax, school facilities tax?
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair Dodd.
642 was a really good number, and if that, for the first 642,000, that trend keeps up. It's
Oh, sorry, yes,
on
640.
the school facilities tax.
Yes, yes.
If that trend keeps up, it's a $7 million a year. Was there any exceptional, any apartments that closed that month? I know 107 building permits is pretty big. I don't know if this lags.
No, that number has stayed pretty consistent, school facilities tax-wise, for the since about April. And we knew that. I mean, the school facilities tax, since we started picking it up on the back end in October 1st, we knew we were going to start to see the results of that come about April. It usually takes 6-8 months for homes to complete, to finish. So we knew that by about April, we would start to see those coming in. So it went from the 300s up to 6, 5, 6, 6. So
How do you track that when they complete? Do you give them an occupancy?
they do not receive a CO until the SFT is paid. In our workflow, I'll call it, in our software, we have a workflow and it's got tasks in it. And the task to collect the school facilities tax is one prior to the CO being issued. So the CO cannot be issued until the school facilities tax is paid. And we have that, also that checkpoint with each of the cities. The city of Murfreesboro, the town of Smyrna, and the city of Laverne each have a checkpoint similar to ours, where they send them to our office to pay for that before they issue the CO. So far, we haven't had too many problems. We haven't had to run down and, chase down too many of them yet, but we're not that far into it. So we'll see. Ask me that again in another year. I tell you something different.
Anyone else? Okay.
And finally, then, zoning enforcement, we had 263 inspections for the month of July. And incidentally, we closed out the fiscal year 24-25 with a total of 4,885 permits, which was up significantly from the fiscal year before, which was 3,755, so about 30%. But that's total permits. That's not just single-family dwelling. That's all permits, all utility permits and everything else. And that concludes my report.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the report. Multiple. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
We have the Highway Department, Superintendent Greg Brooks, but I don't see him here, so I'm assuming we don't have a report. Okay. Anyone have other business? Okay, I'd just like to continue to ask everyone here and out wherever you are, to please recycle. It's not that hard, and it sure will help us out. Too much trash going into landfills, no matter if it's here or somewhere else. We need to get away from that. We don't need to be burying it anywhere. I think that's all I have. But anything else? Just one other thing. Our Charlie Moses out at the G Street convenience center was actually run over last week, and just continue to keep him in your prayers. Yeah, just keep him in your prayers, because I don't want to get into the HEPA stuff, but I know he appreciates it. So we stand adjourned.